Hey everyone, Mike Mulrooney here with a new edition of Shirley Talk. Today we have Mr. Demi Demaree, and he's going to talk to us about his cancer journey. And we were briefly chatting about it. I know we worked a little bit together back then, and but I want to know your journey, how it started, what symptoms did you have, and things like that. So I'm hoping you can help fill our listeners in on what to look for and different, I hate to say tips and tricks, but if you don't know how to work the system in the insurance world and the doctor's world and keep pushing them, you're probably not going to get the immediate attention that you need. And it sounds like you had to do a little of that too.
Yeah.
So how did you find out, and what were your symptoms and things like that?
Well, first off, I got stage 4 lymphoma, was diagnosed with that in early, like right before 2001 hit. And it was just a few days before my birthday. So that was kind of wild, But I hadn't felt good for a good year.
Just tired and draggy all the time?
Tired. But see, you got to understand,
But this guy's a rock star, so you got to figure his lifestyle. But you got to feel through that. You know how that feels.
That's right. In my late teenage years or whatever, I was couch surfing. I was doing a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah.
And I never felt good anyway, and I have terrible allergies. And it's like there's always something, and people would be like, "You're just a hypochondriac."
Right.
You're fine. You're just a hypochondriac, man, whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't feel good. I would go to these little doctors. Now, I didn't have insurance at the time.
But this was 2001?
When they diagnosed me, it was right before 2001. So
okay, so the internet was popular, but not real popular. So you didn't hop on the internet and research symptoms and really throw yourself into a tizzy. Yeah, okay, so that's the difference.
There was no WebMD or that I was privy to.
Right.
And I was working at, I'm pretty sure I was working at Chi-Chi's at the time. And I did not have insurance just yet. And I would go to this doctor, just one of these little places where you go and you pay them $50 and they're like, "What's wrong?" They check your knees and they feel, they do all these things.
Basic stuff.
And, he was basically just kind of brushed it off like, you probably have like some kind of infection, you need to eat better. You need to take vitamins, maybe try exercise and drink more water,
Advil.
Right. Well, I'm 19, 20 years old and living a kind of a rough life anyway. So, I kind of get it. But I just felt like I was never getting better. And I was staying over at a buddy's house, and my knee was hurting, my hip was hurting, I'm just like, I gotta get a better bed, or I gotta do something, and I'm just not feeling good. But what really, the moment that I knew something was messed up, I was in the shower and I was stretching. Like when I'm in the shower, I always stretch my arms out and do things like that. And I was doing it, and I had this bad pain under my arm, and I felt it, and it was like a ball. It was a knot. And I'm like, something's wrong with that. Now, I wasn't thinking cancer or anything. No. I was just like, man, I must have really messed myself up somehow. I've done something. But my knee hurt too. And my ankle hurt too. And I'm like, so I went to the doctor again.
But symptoms like that, stuff like that, most people blow it off and don't think much about it. It took a knot to get your attention.
It took a knot to really get my attention.
Something's going on.
Better than that. It took a knot to get the doctor's attention.
Right, yeah.
Because I had not felt good anyway, and I knew it, but people are like, whatever, But nobody thinks about a 20-year-old having cancer.
No.
Anyway.
We've interviewed a few women that had breast cancer in early ages, but most people that age don't have that type of thing. So the doctors see this stuff all the time. They see these symptoms, and not the bash doctors. They do amazing work, but they see these things all the time. So unless something like a knot gets their attention, they might not do a little extra. So they found the knot.
Well, they found the knot, and he immediately was like, "I have to refer you."
Right.
He referred me to somewhere over here in Baptist East. I think it was the oncology department or something, and I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah,
I didn't know
at that age.
And I'm in there, and they're talking to me, filling me up, and taking blood and all this. And it was literally like that day, they were just like, "Well, hang out. We're going to get the doctor to talk to you." They knew.
But you walked in the oncology not knowing what it is. You're the personality. You probably, "Hey, how are you all? What's going on?" Yeah. Not realizing you're on a cancer ward at a hospital.
I had no idea. Idea. And long story short, for that period, they were just basically like, we need to have a talk, you need to talk to your mom. Is your mom available? Can they come in? And I didn't really have, a real strong connection at that point in my life with my folks.
Right.
My dad had been homeless for a while, couldn't find him. Me and my mom were talking, but it wasn't like every day like we do now.
Right.
We've come a long way since then,
Yeah.
But that was just a weird time period for me. Basically they said, you have cancer. You have stage 4 lymphoma.
So they told you right then.
And I did not know what stage 4. I'm thinking 1 through 10 here.
Yeah, I would have too.
Well, that doesn't sound.
I don't know why they stopped at 4, but yeah.
But I'm like, 4 out of 10, and they were just like, yeah, well, we need to get you started on like chemotherapy, like now, basically.
Like today?
Like it was like the next day kind of thing.
Wow.
Like it was like, and I had to go into the hospital. I mean, I guess I was there for, almost maybe a month, maybe 2. I don't know. It's a foggy time period because not only was I doing the chemotherapy, which actually does affect your brain and your memory, especially over time, but I was also on painkillers. They were just giving me, everything.
So you were admitted into the hospital? You stayed there?
Yeah, I had to stay. Yeah, oh yeah.
Wow.
They put me in there and I couldn't eat. And this is crazy too. They started giving me Marinol, which is basically a form of like THC that was legal at that time to be able to use it. And I just couldn't eat. I was nauseous. I was throwing up all the time. I mean, the chemo is, it really makes you sick.
Oh yeah.
Like sick, like just can't function sick. And so I kind of started self-medicating on the side with something that made me very hungry all the time.
Right.
And that's the only way I was able to eat.
We've heard of that.
And it actually worked.
Yeah.
I ate. And, I'm actually a lucky, story in a lot of ways with, everything that happened to me because yes, it was terrible. The worst part was seeing the people who care about you and how it affected them. In my mind, I knew I was going to beat it, and if I didn't, well, there was nothing I could do. But my fight was more so not for myself, but to get better for the people around me so they would stop suffering. Because when something's out of your hand and you see somebody get sick and go through it, it's devastating to you. And a lot of times you'll find that these people, they have some kind of, peace like I had with it. It was just like, I'm motivated. We're going to beat this one way or another. We're going to figure it out. Maybe it was, luckily I did. Maybe people that even don't beat it, they just lie to themselves or they do whatever. But for me personally, it changed my life because I was able to see how much other people did care about me. And not only that, how much I actually cared about other people. Because when you see people hurt, it changes your, mentality on life.
So you mentioned your mom at the beginning. Did that kind of help bring things together?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then, my family, her sisters and my aunts, and they all stepped up and handled a lot of like the paperwork stuff, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
The good news was, finally, by the time that they did find this, I had Cobra insurance, which isn't great, but it's something.
And it's not cheap.
And it's not, but it was coming out of my, patient server, whatever.
That's good.
So, but they also used a new form of chemotherapy. It was because what you'll find is a lot of times they're always experimenting new things.
Right.
And I was a perfect candidate for it. Basically, we're going to try this on you, this new formula.
And you got lucky.
And it worked, which is amazing. I actually made a medical journal because of how I went from stage 4 lymphoma to basically you couldn't even see anything on the PET scans within about 4 months.
So it was all chemo, no surgery?
It was no surgery other than a biopsy.
Really?
And I was supposed to have a blood transfusion, but for whatever reason, the doctor decided not to do that. And then here down the road, because I had to get, updates. It was like once a month to get checked, and then once every 6 months, and then once a year. And then for 10 years before they were like, you're good.
They don't keep up with you at all? Do you
Not
have to go
anymore.
back every year or anything at all?
Nothing like that. And
really?
Actually, the doctor finally I got a doctor, and because it's just been back and forth through insurance. Like, you get this insurance, you can't go to this doctor anymore unless you're paying out of pocket. And that gets very expensive.
And a hassle. It's a complete hassle.
It's terrible.
Yeah, because doctor-patient relationship is a trust thing. It's something you're comfortable with. Yeah. And then the insurance says you have to go see another doctor because they don't pay that one. I don't understand that.
Well, that's
at all.
like my doctor that I did have under a certain insurance, the new insurance that I ended up getting when they did the Affordable Care Act and all that kind of stuff. Well, he wasn't under that program so I couldn't go see him anymore unless I wanted to pay out of pocket. I just was paying out of pocket anyway. I was like, I would rather just pay $80 or whatever to see this person that knows my history, knows this, I'm comfortable with him, blah, 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 which, and so I did. Well, then he died in a ski accident.
Wow.
Last year.
Wow.
So now, under this insurance, basically I have to go to U of L, which U of L does have a lot of benefits, but I don't have an actual doctor anymore.
Right. Especially with what you went through, you really need to find one to make sure that,
Absolutely.
because, I'm telling your history, because since that doctor's gone, that history, for years they've been trying to get insurance companies and medical hospitals to share information so they have histories of patients.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that they've gotten that down pat yet, but with your history, they really need to know what you've dealt with.
Yeah, and believe me, if people thought I was a hypochondriac a long time ago, there's nothing like being called a hypochondriac and then being like, yeah, but I have stage 4 lymphoma now.
Yeah, you had a reason.
I had a reason. I know my body. I know when something's wrong. And a lot of times, here within the past couple years, I've had 2 kidney stone surgeries. I've lost my appendix about 7 years ago. And these are things that I'd be complaining about to significant other, whoever's in my life. Like, I know something's wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, you probably just have gas. Oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. Because people like dumbing things down because they want, they don't want something to be really wrong.
Yeah.
So I get it. But then it's like all of a sudden I'm in the hospital. It's like, oh, you have a kidney stone that's basically stuck in your kidney and it's blocking you from being able to use the bathroom. It's a good thing you caught it. I'm like, see?
Yeah. Then my first reaction after this would be, man, I wonder if it's kidney stone or I wonder if it's kidney cancer.
Exactly.
Yeah. My mind would immediately go to that.
I am constantly like, oh no.
Yeah. Here it is again.
I'm still checking.
Yeah.
I'm still just like.
Did they say that they thought it would ever come back? A lot of, especially breast cancer doesn't usually come back. And this is a guy talking, so I'm sure people are going to correct me if I'm wrong. But from what I understand, breast cancer doesn't always come back into breast. It comes back in other places. It morphs into, so did they say that it might come back?
Do that. Like, they said it might.
Really?
But
you're 19 years, 18 years cancer free.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. Huh. And but then I lost my sister to colon cancer. I lost my dad to colon cancer.
I think that's when we connected with you and your sister.
And thank you all so much for that, because you helped out a lot with that, and I do appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Well, it's funny because when Ryan and I were talking, he said, you had a fight with cancer. I said, no, it was his sister. He said, no, he had a battle with cancer. And I don't think you ever brought that up to me.
Probably not.
Yeah, you're one of those, it's like it's done and it's over and I don't want to think about it anymore.
And it's tough because, I've been in situations where people with cancer are looking at me and they'll say, well, how did you beat it? It's like.
Well, I'm a firm believer in things that they haven't come out yet. I really believe THC is part of the answer in this whole equation.
And I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have been able to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried to get my mom back when 2013 gummies and stuff that weren't that, but she was losing so much weight.
Yeah.
Because you can't eat. And I tried, and she was a strong, hard Catholic that refused. And I get it.
I get it.
But if you're on your deathbed, what's it really matter? Surely Jesus will forgive you when you get there if you've taken a couple gummies or something.
I'm a whatever works kind of guy.
I am too.
Like, my sister there at the end. I would talk about. Well, what about like even like CBD oil? What about just like weed? If you smoke weed, you're going to be able to eat, and it'll probably get rid of this nausea. And she was just, no, I'm not into that. My dad in the very end, I would give him CBD oil but he was too far gone. It was to the point where he couldn't even eat. He couldn't swallow anymore.
He was probably on a tube for a little bit of nutrition, and that was about it.
Well, he was real stubborn. So we went to the doctor, and they were like, well, if we, basically just feed him ice cubes for about 3 days, he's going to be miserable, but there's a chance it could loosen up to give him a little more time. But we can't do the surgeries to,
So what type of cancer did he have?
Too far gone. It was colon. But see, it's like you said, cancer spread, okay? So like you can have a little bit of lung cancer, and all of a sudden it's going to your spine, it's going to your brain, it's going here, it spreads. So usually when people have cancer, it's not just you have cancer of the colon. No, it's the stuff grows and it moves.
It attaches to a blood source and uses it as a road to attack your body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's never just one, so when he passed, it was kind of, what did he die from? Well, he had cancer, but it could have been a heart attack. It could have been who knows? He could have choked on,
Yeah. That's so
It's just
you've really been touched by cancer. So you had it first.
Yeah.
And like you said, it affects the people around you. And because mainly, and you've seen both sides. You've had it, now you've seen that. You've seen your sister and your dad have it. There's such an overwhelming feeling of not being able to do anything about it.
Right.
You want to help that person. And if somebody's got a headache, you hand them some Advil and you feel great because you helped them with their headache. With cancer, it's such a helpless feeling because Advil doesn't fix that.
That's right.
So, I mean, so the people around you are affected, but obviously I've never been on that side of it, laying in the bed with it, but I've watched so many people struggle mentally because they've watched somebody with cancer.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I really, honestly, I think that the hardest part about it, after the initial shock of it and the fact that, you're not immortal.
Yeah.
Which, of course, that's going to mess with you, but to see how that affects other people is the most devastating thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't want them to be like that. You're like, no. Don't say, let's, you can be upset, I'm upset, but let's get past that, because if you don't know how much, longer you got, even if you break it down in the hour, if I have an hour with somebody that I care about, I don't want it to be a sad morning hour. I want it to be 5 minutes of, okay, yeah, this is terrible. And what do we do?
Yeah.
But can we have a regular conversation now? Can we laugh? Can we remember good things? Can we watch something funny?
Yeah.
You have to think about it enough, especially if you're hurting. Like if you're feeling something and you know it's wrong, or you're in a hospital, or you're having to take this medicine that makes you feel nauseous, and food tastes like battery acid, and you're engulfed with that already. So what I would tell people that, are dealing with somebody in their family or a friend that is dealing with that, what they really want is you to be there and make them laugh and love them and hang out with them.
You nailed it.
Don't go in with this pity party attitude and cry the whole time, because it's really not helping. And I know it's hard, but it's not helping. Because
the people that come in, they want to console, but they don't understand it's in your mind the whole time. Right. You nailed it. I've had so many people say, I love when people come, but the problem is that's all they want to talk about is the cancer.
Right.
Come in and tell a joke. Come in and talk about the old times. When my mom was sick, she loved Matlock and the Texas what's that Texas Ranger show? Anyway, I would just go we'd sit and laugh and watch that, because she knew she was dying. But that's the last thing a person with cancer wants to talk about.
They do not, 100% don't want anything to do with that conversation. Because I've been on the other end of it. And I'd have to tell my friends, like, look, stop. Even if I didn't know if I was going to be okay or not, because you have no way of really knowing that. No. I would rather just live in the idea that I might, and even if I'm not, how about today we have some laughs.
Yeah.
And I know this is terrible, and I wouldn't recommend this for anybody, but there was a moment when, right toward the end of my chemotherapy, that I had to actually do in the hospital itself. Because once I got out, I still had to do it. Like, they would come to my house and pump me up and then leave or whatever. I had a port. But I actually had a friend come and steal me from the hospital one time. And
I'm sure there's a story behind that.
And I went and drank a beer
there you go.
at the Golden Nugget.
Yeah,
and then he took me back.
Yeah, that's breaking away.
And I swear to you, man, that was like the coolest moment.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, but it made me happy, and it made me feel like I was like a kid again, and I was escaping, and I was doing this, and it was like, that meant the world to me. You know what I'm saying?
When we first started Shirley's Way, I don't know if you paid attention, and Kelly, we need to do this again, is we started giving people a night out away from cancer. We had somebody donate a limo, and we sent this 14-year-old little girl to a concert. It was a girl concert, and it may have been Pink, I don't know. But she absolutely loved it. But it gets your mind off of it for a while. So we need to start doing that again, finding somebody, and I think that'd be a good thing.
Absolutely. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
That's huge. You're getting people out of their mind for a minute. You're getting them out of the reality for a minute. And
it makes a huge difference mentally, because you're so taxed all the time anyway.
And let's be honest here, like, your mentality and your perception is basically everything in life. I mean, you could have a terrible situation or come up in a terrible environment or whatever, but if your perception on it is, well, positive, well, it could always be worse, and it could, things can blah, blah, blah. You would be surprised how a lot of people with bad things going on in their life, if their perception is different than yours, it's everything. So if you're going through a terrible sickness and you're going, whatever, and you're able to not think about that or just be happy for the life you had instead of the life that might be cut short, that perception will make you a happier person, therefore a healthier person. And that's real, and I think that's a lot of it. When the doctor told me, the actual oncologist himself, he's like, because I said, once he said it was stage 4 lymphoma, I said, well, what's my odds? He's like, that's not how we're thinking.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, that's not what we're doing. He goes, I want you to pray all the time. He goes, and I want you to trust me, and I want you to take the medicine when I tell you to take it. He's like, so, he goes, if you can just know that you're going to beat it in your mind. And he knew that I did. There was no way of knowing I was going to or not. But there is something about your mind and following the guidance of experts that gives you a little bit better of a shot. And I'm not saying it always works because I don't know the numbers on that, but I do know him having that conversation with me made me switch it up. If I would have sat around every day just being like, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, then I would have given up, and then your body will start to give up as well.
Well, I think the doctors do that, one, because they firmly believe in their skills, but two, they're trying to give you an optimistic view or feeling of beating it. And I think they do that until there's nothing else they can do.
Sure.
But they want you, because your mind is the strongest muscle in your body.
Right.
And but if you let your mind dwindle and think bad thoughts, it affects you physically.
You can literally make yourself sick.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm not sure. Maybe that's what happened to me a long time ago. I have no idea. I was a very, very depressed, upset, crazy. I was a mess. I was a mess before cancer, and honestly, like, that changed my life for the better. Like, because I've had massive amounts of empathy since then. You know what I mean? And I don't judge people like I used to. I don't. Something happened, man. Like, when you go through something like that, and if you are fortunate enough to come out on the other end of it, and I am very, very, very glad that I was able to.
Obviously he didn't tell you the odds, but stage 4 lymphoma is not something most people come back from.
It's really not.
Yeah.
And to be that story is, I'm so grateful, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, it's like I said, when I had a conversation with somebody who's not gonna beat it, and they're like, well, how did you beat it? Like, why you? Like, what's the difference here? And it's like, dude, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I know that I got it and it was terrible, and I'm thankful every day of my life that I was able to beat it, and it crushes me every day to know that other people don't always beat it. And I've had to, watch my sister and my father go. Now, granted, they're a lot older than me, especially when I was like, just turning 20, 21 years old or whatever, So it's really sad to see it when, children, because it's just like they didn't even have it, they don't have it, they didn't get to even experience a lot of things that people normally take for granted,
I got a friend that every year he posts on Facebook, miss you, buddy. It rips me up. His son was, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah,
and he died from it. And how somebody mentally beats that and gets up every morning, I just don't understand.
I don't either.
But the kids, it's horrible to see.
Like I said, I don't have the answers for anything like that. So it's like, yes, I'll talk about it. Like, I'll come, for you, because this is going to be beneficial to other people, hopefully.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not something that, I just bring up or like talking about, really.
Right.
Because, to me, it's this weird feeling of, oh, I made it and you didn't, or your family, it's like, I can't, I don't have the answers for that.
Well, a lot of times people get guilt survival guilt.
That I've had that
Because people will say, I'm glad you beat it, but my mom, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it really, you know, people don't always think about what they say and stuff like that. But yeah, people do have survivor's guilt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then it's the other end of it. It's like, well, what am I here to do? You know, it's like, yeah, I've created this, and I'm getting better as I get older. But for the longest time, it's like, well, I'm supposed to do something. Like, I've been kept here to do something, and I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. You know, why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? And you can't think like that because, no, who knows?
Well, my faith has been rattled a lot when Mom died.
Right.
And, you know, I see people all the time say, anyway, the thing is, it does make you wonder, you know, why you beat stage 4 cancer, but somebody else didn't. Right. Is there a reason for that? So it obviously changed you. We have a mutual friend, and I'll tell you who it is later, but his brother died from cancer, and you know exactly who it is, but he did a song on YouTube and did Tim McGraw's song, Live Like You're Dying. Mm-hmm. But he said, cancer changed me. Even though I'm not going to beat this, it changed me. Because he said, I see people differently than I used to.
Oh, yeah.
Your whole empathy towards things, your sympathy towards things, which you may not have had before it changes you.
No, it did. And it actually 100% made me like 1,000 times better of a person and with a bigger heart. And I am that. Mm-hmm. Like, and you know, I'm happy for that, and I'm glad for that. Is there a rhyme or reason to any of this? Couldn't tell you.
I don't either. I mean, people are so strong in their faith, and that's good. I wish I was there, but they have a completely different outlook on life with stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm just not there. But there's something to it. The reason why you're still here and others aren't. So maybe you've got a greater purpose. I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe, you know, sometimes I wonder, it's like, well, maybe we live many lifetimes, and we have to endure different things until like, you know, you grow as a person, the more you go through. Maybe your soul grows, the more lives that you have to live to become to something. Or maybe not. Or maybe there's nothing. I don't know, man. None of us do.
I have no way of knowing.
I don't either.
I have no answers. I can just tell my story, and that's it.
Yeah, like I said, I admire people with faith, but I'm personally not there. But I think a lot like you just said, you know, who knows? You might have 40 lives that you live across this universe.
Maybe it's
nobody knows. Yeah, it might be 4 billion, but you got to
know.
hit a certain level to get to another one. I don't know. Maybe we'll start a new religion and really make that one up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I have no idea.
Well, none of us will. But anyway, the last question I really got is, how did the insurance companies work out for you? Did those things work out well? Did you get a stack of bills that you were indebted to for the rest of your life? I mean, is that...
Well...
But you ended up with Cobra, so that helped.
Yes.
Even though that's probably $1,000.
They got to write off some of it because I was in a medical journal, because whatever this new chemo mixture that they did worked like way faster.
Do you remember what it was?
I have no idea, and I couldn't even tell you.
Right.
You know,
I'm just curious if it's something they still I'm sure they actively use it now.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do, because it worked.
Yeah.
You know, and it probably, you know, like you said, you don't come out of stage 4 lymphoma, and you especially don't have all your tumors that are literally all over your body, the size of golf balls and marbles, go away within 4 months.
Wow.
It just doesn't happen.
It's unbelievable.
So I mean, you know, and it's like, you know, it's insanity. So they did get rid of some of it, but you're talking about something that's probably been $1 million worth of, which I didn't have, obviously. And my aunts, they were doing all this paperwork, and you know, I was paying on these things, and this is crazy too. So my grandma had left me a significant amount of money in this fund that I didn't even know existed and didn't find out about until after I was sick. And they were kind of like, well, we have to give you this now. But I'm glad that they waited, because
in your early days,
I was insane. I'd have blown that. I'd have had a muscle car, and you know. Yeah. I'm not even going to go into all that.
Yeah.
But so I ended up having to use, you know, about 80-90% of that as to pay that off, so it wouldn't be hung over my head the rest of my life.
Wow.
So in this odd way, you know, my grandmother, who had already passed a long time ago, helped me pay off my cancer bills with the help of, you know, my mom and her sisters who were doing all this kind of work, because I had no way of doing any of that. You know, I just had no idea how any of that even works.
No.
And I have boxes and stacks of paper and binders of all these things that they were doing behind the scenes and working with the insurance companies and this and that. And they basically said, don't worry about this. Don't worry about this.
Wow. You know, most people don't have that type of.
No, they don't. And honestly, that's what I'm saying. You know, it's like for me, my story is living a life of, oh, well, everybody's got it better than me. My dad's homeless. I grew up in an alcoholic family, you know, blah, 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 this and that, just pissed off at the world, whatever, screw everybody too. This happening, my family really standing up and showing out, me realizing that I was just, it's like, wow, I had it wrong. You know, I had it wrong. And
Randy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, again, the cancer changed you. Maybe that's what it was that brought everybody together and things like that. I don't know how to explain it either. It's such the journey. But you know, you talk about all the paperwork and everything. I don't understand in today's world why you can't walk in a place, they scan your ID, and all the paperwork you filled out 3 days ago pulls up, so you don't have to do it again.
Right.
Because everywhere you go, you got 6 papers to fill out, and you do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over.
Or imagine somebody asking. See, there's something called chemo brain.
Yeah.
And it affects your memory. And I promise you that, because even still to this day, you know, I'll have people from my teenage years that will reach out to me and they'll tell me a story. Hey, well, how you been? I remember that one time we did this and this at the park and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I have no idea who you are.
Really?
And it's awful, because I hate that. There's nothing worse than having to, you know, deal with not remembering people's names and not remembering these kind of things. But I was on a whole lot of drugs at the time, and I was going through chemo and I was this and that. And then a doctor, you'll be filling out an application of, or whatever, say 10 years down the road, and you're telling them about, you know, you're answering the question, you know, what cancer did you have? Who was your doctor? Who was my doctor? He had gray hair and glasses, man. Like, that's all I know. I had no idea. Well, don't you have records somewhere? I'm sure I do, man. Like,
the paperwork is insane on things, not only just going through it, but like you said, 10 years down the road, you go to the doctor. How are you supposed to remember that?
How?
I don't know.
Have you ever had this? Have you, man, I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know. I know what I had. I have a story to tell about it. You know, I forgot that I lost my appendix. You know, I'm sitting here doing, you know.
Hey, are you missing any body parts? Oops.
Right. It's like, have you ever had any surgeries? I'm like, well, I got surgery on my toe one time. I had a biopsy one time, and I'm about to have this kidney stone surgery. And then I'm like, oh wait, that's right, I don't have an appendix.
There you go. You almost need a notes chart to carry on your phone with you everywhere you go.
But I think the future is probably more promising, because it probably will be they'll be able to run a scan over you. Be like, here's what you got, here's what you don't, here's what you've had happen to you.
I've heard over the years, within the next 10 years, there'll be an app on the phone that you can scan your body and it'll tell you exactly what's wrong with you. And how cool would that be? That flags red stuff on your body when it censors it.
I'm 100% down with that, because, you know, they've already got all your information anyway, whether you like it or not. If you have a smartphone or anything, and
oh yeah,
there's the eye in the sky. So at least, you know, with something like that, we could try to maintain our health and know when something's actually wrong. Because there's nothing worse than being somebody who has been, you know, through the ringer health-wise and feeling a certain way, and then getting on, you know, WebMD, and every single time you've got the worst thing possible.
I've done that a few times, and my pinky was hurting, and I would search pinky hurting, and I've done convinced myself I'm dying by the end of the day.
Absolutely. I actually, on the station, you know, with LRS now or whatever, and on the station I kind of made a joke. It was like, you know, I woke up real groggy, I just wasn't feeling good, and I was like, turns out I have menopause, you know?
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's what WebMD told me I had. You
Yeah,
know, it
whoops.
says,
I should have checked the mailbox instead of the female. But in today's world, I guess a male can have menopause. I don't
who
know.
knows, man? Who knows? But yeah, I'm all about the scan. Let's get the scans.
I am too, but sometimes I wonder if a scan would scare you to death. You know, there's no telling what you would
I got friends that are so scared to go to the doctor that they haven't done it
because they don't want to know what they have.
Because they're afraid, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I get that, but you know, it is 2020 here, you know, and the chances of you surviving something are better if you go today than if you wait 10 years. Because
Find it early.
if I would have waited, I would have just been gone.
Well, yeah, you would have probably, I don't know, you would have probably been really sick and you'd have died and they wouldn't have known until they did, why did he die?
Biopsy.
Or something, and figure out you had a lump that they could have fixed 2 years prior.
And he was trying to go to the doctor. He didn't feel good. And
So if you hadn't got anything out of this, what Demi's saying is, you know, a good thing is go get a physical every year. At least they'll do blood tests. You know, my dad had kidney cancer, and the only reason they found it is he almost had a heart attack. He went in, they fixed his heart in the stents, and they did a blood test and said, hey, by the way, you've got kidney cancer. It showed up on the blood test. A simple blood test can tell you a lot about what's going on with your body, and he'd have died too.
Your palates, white blood cells, red blood cells, this and that. Yeah, they're all things that literally, they can fill you up. They can give you scans, but that blood will tell a lot.
So an annual physical and just a blood test would rule out a lot of stuff that if people would do it, it's like going to the dentist twice a year, which a lot of people don't do that either. But I mean, if you do that once a year, at least a simple blood test could rule out some probably basic stuff that people don't know.
Don't wait.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Go get a blood test.
Yeah, your life matters on it. It really does.
Yeah, because you just don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we appreciate your time today, and it's been great to talk to you. We're trying to tell people's journeys, what they noticed, what symptoms did they have, were they sick, and we've kind of covered that with Demi, and you were feeling bad, but Advil didn't fix his problem. He just happened to notice a knot. So it's just, you know, his was in his lymph nodes, but women, since this is October, Breast Cancer Month, you know, I know several women that we worked with that their moms died from breast cancer. And they skipped their annual mammogram. 2 of them are dead and 1 of them still alive. So knowing you've got a history of that is huge in itself, and you got to let your doctor know that.
I didn't even have a history of lymphoma in my family ever.
Wow. So there's no, I guess that's the mystery of it all, is where does it come from? You know, I don't know. I'm not sure. Obviously nobody knows, or we'd fix it, but is it something you eat? Is it too many hamburgers, too many chicken patties? You know, what is it that causes something like that? Is it the air? I don't know.
No, I have no way of knowing that, and they didn't know either. They're like, so you don't have any history? I'm like, no, none. They're like, you sure? 100% positive. They're like, well, we don't know. But let's get you fixed. You know, like they have no way of knowing that thing, man. And if they, you know, if somebody does, there's a corporation with a whole lot of money covering up that kind of information.
Yeah.
So
because the drugs are so expensive. Yeah. Well, that'll be a whole nother topic next time, because the medication is absolutely an asinine. We did a video on a young lady, Claudette, and I think her total medical package in pills that she has to take is close to $90,000.
I mean, that's insanity.
Yeah.
Nobody has that.
No.
Who has that?
No, I don't know. I always ask, is it a money transfer from one company to the next, or is it a paper thing and looks like they made that much money? I don't know, but how they can think the general public can pay $90,000 for medication, it just blows me away.
No chance.
Yeah, so anyway. Well, thanks so much, Demi. We appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate you.
Hopefully we help people today.
Hope so.
Thanks a million, man.
Thank you.